Good morning, Tartaria hunters, Tartaria Australia, Autodidactic, and fucking JC has joined us today. Woo! We have had so many people write to us personally and say, you got to get JC on, you got to get JC on. You guys are so the same. We
are.
Welcome,
tree video.
JC.
Have you seen the tree video? Have you seen the tree video? Oh my God, Crystal Cities.
I'm so excited. Oh my God.
Talking.
I feel so honored to be here. This is like, I don't usually go on people's shows. So I was just so excited because I just love both of you so much. And I love the work you've been doing. I've been watching you both closely, and I just, you guys are from that era where, we were, I don't know, Campbell, were you born in the 70s as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
72,
we still have the critical thinking going on, right? And we were brought up like, I know, even though I went to public school, I taught myself everything that I know. Like I used to go out and read encyclopedias and then do stuff like kind of like homeschooling. And so when I see you guys thinking, it's that critical thinking that we've lost, that out the Gen Y, was I born, and after that they've just lost all of that. We've been dumbed down by the school. So I just love everything that you guys put out, because one thing I was pondering, and I know I'm talking a lot, but one thing I was pondering about what you guys talk about the mudfloods, about Tartaria, about these other dimensions and the crystal cities and stuff, is that no one has the absolute truth. But what we can do is we can intuit and piece together this stuff. And because we're in a matrix is a hologram, and holograms are malleable. So of course you're going to, whatever your truth is, it's going to adapt to that. But we've got to try and push through that and get to these core truths, and they come through the architecture and they come through the hardcore evidence and all of that stuff. And that's why I love listening to how you're piecing together things and how you're seeing the evidence and putting out possibilities of what it could be, and then that triggers in us a memory. So I was watching Campbell, I was watching your show about the airships the other night, and I was like, this feels familiar. I was like, this is familiar. There's something about this story about the airships when you showed them how they were going from New York to London or whatever, and I was just like, this feels like some kind of steampunk world, like a Hayao Miyazaki movie or something like that.
And they're docking on the Eiffel Tower, and they're docking on all these like amazing like fundamental iconic structures, and it makes so much sense. Like that's so what is so, that's the irony of the whole Tartarian thing. Like it is crazy and program busting. Like we know that it just freaking rips everything apart, but it makes so much sense. But like the missing ingredient from the entire spiritual community's conversation of the last 18 months has been, where's the fucking nonsense? Like we are like fucking so intensely scrutinizing the evidence and the truth, and it's so serious and dark and friggin' awful. And then Tartaria comes along and it's like crazy, but makes so much sense. But now we add the nonsense to the whole thing, and suddenly like we've got the ability to like start to actually break through this, So it's Tartaria is a program buster, but master of nonsense is where we have to go to, community of spiritual light workers. You got to start making some shit up.
Oh man. Well, in that is truth though, so in all of this is truth. Like I said, so who's to say that somebody's astral journey is false and somebody else's is true? I hate dogmatic anything, right? A lot of new age stuff is very dogmatic, and I can't stand it. I'm writing a course at the moment on how to awaken your natural intuition and things like that, and I'm sitting there going, all these people going, oh yeah, can you talk about this and that? And I'm like I'm just gonna flow with it, baby, because intuition, it's not a book, it's you've got to explore it and feel it. And the same with astral journeys. Somebody the other day, I put out these tree videos, and honestly, I don't put out anything unless I absolutely believe it. right? I will never, ever do a video unless I absolutely believe it. I never have a quota of videos that I have to do. If I don't feel something, I don't do it. But I'll get this urge and I'll go, okay, yeah, I feel this thing. So when I got the message recently from the trees about the crystal cities and stuff, I'm like, I have to put this out there because I felt that message was so strong. I was up against this tree and I literally was like in another world as I was just relaxing because I was recovering from the shedding, and this tree just took all the pain away. And then what I do is I hold up my phone and I have a recording device in there and I just hear it and I speak it. And someone said to me, that's just your higher self talking. And I'm like, but your higher self is connected to source and source is connected to nature. So of course it's your higher self interpreting the frequency of the trees and all of nature, which is what all our Indigenous people did. They spoke to the earth, they spoke to the animals, they spoke to nature spirits, they spoke to the spirit of crocodile, they spoke to the spirit of kangaroo, they spoke to all of this is what we lost. And we just have to remember that. So who's to say that my dreaming, my stories is not true and other people's is, because it follows a dogmatic thing of what New Agers have listed in a book of what it should be and how you should do it. And somebody else asked me very earnestly, she said, when you're doing your dowsing and you're calling in just your higher self, do you need a guardian there to protect you from other things coming in? I was like, no, because I set the intention of no consent to any other external interference and I'm aligned with my higher self. And she said, no, you must have a guardian because that's what I was told. And I said, well, I don't do what other people do. I do what's intuitive. And that's what we've got to rediscover that. And that's how we get to the truth.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, well, we've been indoctrinated to think like that, haven't we? At school, right? Line up, get in a line.
It's like my guru told me this, and that's what it is.
And it's just people, like literally not leaving school. You know, they just go find another teacher, but they forget that they should be educating themselves.
Autodidactic.
Sure, go and watch everyone, but be autodidactic, right? Just get bits that make sense, and then when you get enough bits, you'll have your own perspective.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Like when I was in my early 20s, I trained in alchemy for a couple of years, and we learnt
done everything, Kel. Who are you?
Yeah, well, this has been my quest this whole lifetime.
Did you ever get into spagyrics?
No,
or
actually.
okay.
Oh, interesting. Well, this is quite a long time ago, and I broke it up spending 12 years on a farm in the bush, which got me like honestly into the micro world, which is fucking awesome. And I know like I can stand here and talk about intentional communities because I've done it and I know what it takes and I know what moving to the bush or the land looks like. So we will have this conversation today as we move on. But so when I started training in how to be psychic, it was all about turning on my intuition, which was all about trusting my imagination. That's how I got taught. It was like basically the study of what is obvious to my imagination. So, we used to go through this process where I'd ask for a symbol, and it could be the first thing in my mind, it could be a monkey on roller skates, like flying through space, could have been my symbol. And then from there, I would just be like, okay, what's obvious to me about this monkey on roller skates flying through space? And it may have been the fact that it was animated. All right, what do I know about what's obvious about animation to me? And then it might be this thing and this thing and this. But it's very unique to what that means to you and then what your brain's bringing up, and then just speaking for 3 hours. I just learned to speak for 3 hours. Nonsense, basically. To me, if I wasn't trained, I trained myself in nonsense, basically, in order to understand how my intuition and fucking hell, man, after 3 hours, I would be saying out loud the things that they'd only whispered to their inner soul, that the things that had only been so quiet in them. But when I spoke it would break them down. And all that was my imagination and me trusting it, because what's our imagination? It's innocence, in no sense, nonsense, innocence. What is innocence, everyone? It's to make some shit up. Now, we know, like your tree videos, JC, like they've gone off. Like people have been triggered by them because you did something like imaginative to the rest of the world. The Crystal City concept has gone off. Like, why? Because we're presenting nonsense imagination, and everyone knows when when you do that and it's truth, there's innocence in it. And innocence is our gateway through all of this mess. Like, what have they done?
Absolutely.
They've destroyed innocence in every single direction that
They've
we've
destroyed creative thinking
Creativity.
through they've destroyed creative thinking through modern education practices or schooling practices, but also as an artist, and you're an artist as well, Kel. I don't know, Campbell, do you do any art or anything creative in that way?
Yeah. Write and draw.
I've got a writing background as well. So I've got a theatre degree and a fine arts and design, and
I've got a writing degree background.
Awesome.
Well,
I just feel so unqualified sitting here.
I majored in playwriting. I
need to do some courses.
Yeah, I majored in playwriting and did children's books as well, children's illustration, all that.
Oh my God, Stacey, I illustrate children's books. I mean, no kidding you.
You and me are just separated at birth. Fucking hell.
I mean, okay, so look at our skill set to bring us here to Tartaria. We're writers, we're artists, we're teachers. You know, probably.
Well, yes, and I did have a teaching background too.
Yes. Yeah. We've turned into our intuition. We've done some work on our psychic abilities.
Everything's triangulating into this point. So this is what I wanted to say. So Edward de Bono, we studied him a lot in design when I was doing at this fantastic, College of Fine Arts at New South Wales University. This elite sort of fine arts school, and it was all about lateral thinking. And this is what Edward de Bono talked about. Lateral thinking is about, it's not the typical thinking. As you know, when you're putting a proposal together, Kelly, if you're doing a design thing, you've got to think laterally. It's all symbols. It's all, and your brain just starts thinking like that. And you're putting proposals together and you're able to express, it just becomes a second nature to you. So that fits in with intuition. It has to. The creative side, that's the right brain talking, right? So the creative side speaks to being able to decipher symbols and to be able to go into that intuition and the intuitive side. And that's what we've lost, and that's what's been blocked. That's why they're so into the pineal gland and blocking that, which, by the way, is connected. Okay. Long story, but I've worked out that they steal so on these other dimensions, they steal your gifts when you're born. Okay, this is the lost at sea thing with the common law thing. So on other dimensions, they steal our gifts as we're being born back into this matrix. And one of the places that we found, me and these healers, my third eye, so they took some of my gifts away, was on fucking Saturn. So this is where that's where the Saturn worship goes in, right? So they're taking these intuitive gifts from people, and they're blocking you so that you can stay in this matrix and believe all these programs that are going on. This is so we're going into woo-woo land here. But that's why reclaiming all of that, getting back to nature, going back to the way our original people lived, is how they communicated with these other frequencies, these other worlds. And that's the message I got from the tree the other day, which I can read you that little bit that they said about the crystal cities.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this just all fits in with where is this? Where's Tartaria? What happened? Why do the original people not remember this? Why don't they remember? Why has this been wiped from their memory? Why is it that they just knew that these buildings were there, right, in Melbourne and in different parts of, and they know there's a city under in Uluru under Arnhem Land, right? And they know this, but they don't know how it got there, right? And so, but what is that? What's happened? They've been interfered with.
Yep. Their
DNA's been interfered with. They've been interfered with stolen generation. They had to break that communication. That's those stories that we shared intergenerationally. Something I came across, and I'm going all over the place, but my brain's just going 100 miles an hour.
Oh, mate, we're with you.
I was re-listening to John Taylor Gatto's 5-hour underground history, and he was talking about the boxcar orphans that were in the late 1800s when the Rockefellers came in and industrialized society, and they wanted to double the workforce. So they wanted the men and the women to go and work in the factories. What are they going to do with the kids? This is before education became official and mandatory. A lot of parents were just adopting out their kids. And they were sending these kids in these boxcart trains, right? They're just sending them out west from the East Coast. So there's all these orphans being sent and shipped off, and people are ordering them and just going, yeah, I want one with blue eyes and blah, blah, blah. And whatever. All this bad, horrible stuff's going on along the way. And John Taylor Gatto was saying, he said, when you break that, he said there's these formative years of the child. They need to see the genetic match to their face to learn how to be empathetic, to learn how to feel, and to learn how to react, and to learn how it has to be a genetic match. So when you break that bond and you break that family and you put them in school, or you shove them and you adopt them out, or you stolen generation, take them away from their Indigenous tribe where they're learning. And you're not just breaking the education and those generational secrets and truths, you're actually making the child a sociopath, right? So you're getting a lot of these serial killers from backgrounds like this, right? This is what's happening. Now put the mask in there, right? What's happening? All these young kids at school, and they're being desensitized. They're looking at their tablet. They're not learning to read. So all of this missing information, they are trying so hard, these controllers, to just stop us from knowing who we are. Because once we do, kaboom.
Kaboom. And we do that. I mean, I seriously feel like the path to doing that is our imagination, because at the end of the day, that is probably, my opinion, the only real protected element of us. Like, no one can interfere with my imagination. Like, you can do whatever you want to me, but man, I'm hyper imaginative, and it is just, I paint llamacorns, for fuck's sake, you know, like I have it in me so hardcore. It could never be altered. Like, obviously I'm going to stay away from any apple juice, but it's never going to be something that can be like fucked up in me. I just know that. And in fact, I also know that it's so expansive. I know it's like if I could think of any gateway for any human being to go through internally, like we talk about all this internal spiritual work, to me, it is the imagination. Like, how good are you guys? How can you sit there and make something really amazing up that you've never thought about before, ever read about, or ever even considered? Like, can you do that? Like, that's an exercise for you to take out of this like podcast today, to go away and truly stretch your brain, to take it to areas that you've never seen, you could never like draw on. It's completely unique to your own capacity as a sovereign human being. And like, that is the gift of the imagination. And like, there's no fucking right or wrong. There's no guru in that space. There's no guru in my imagination temple head. Like, it doesn't exist. It's whatever I make it up. So I keep going on and on and on and on and on and on about this. I think the only missing spiritual book on this plane is that of Mastering Nonsense. Like, that, to me, they're the gods, right?
And they hate it too, don't they? You know, right?
Yeah.
You laugh at them, they don't know how to respond, and they hate it, and they definitely can't do it. They're not funny. They're not imaginative. It's definitely it's our superpower for sure.
They're destroying it. Yeah, absolutely. Because then it allows us to see what the possibilities are. Our imagination was co-opted by the movie industry. Okay, so there's never an original thought. They people just rattle off and reference movies that they've seen, and they passively just absorbing this creative world that other people have created for them, and then that's just taken our power and steered it into a narrative to make us believe and read a history that was false, and that's how they propagandized everything. Our whole entire history. I mean, just think, when I watch your shows, I'll just go, fucking hell, what kind of fucking lies have they told us?
Oh my God, Stacey, fucking hell.
Do you get to that point where it's just like, holy fuck, like what?
Yeah, well, you know, I get to that
point. But there's a familiarity to it, isn't there? There's this thing of like, I think I'm remembering. Yeah. I have this theory.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Yeah, I have this theory. Let's just pretend this is the dome. Okay, so this is my dome. This is my stellar dome. Okay, so the world.
It looks like a breast implant.
It does look like she can feel it. Not that I need them. So just imagine, it doesn't matter if the world is a globe or flat or whatever, because it's multidimensional. So it's going to look different depending on where you're observing it from and from what dimension you're observing it from. So let's say it was a globe, but there is this section of the Earth, and I've got a photograph of it, by the way, and it was from World War II, from outside the dome, and it's the world map under this section, and then there's more land outside, right? So that's where the Antarctic ice ring comes from, right? But there's much more outside. Now, I believe that under this is and the Gnostics talked about this, it was the replica world, okay? And that was taken by the dark. So you've got God, source is light, and then the absolute opposite duality is the darkness, which is Satan, whatever you want to call it. But that natural frequency sort of created this, right? And what the Gnostics believe is like we're sort of trapped under this, and in there is 3D and 4D, and that's where the illusion, the kind of the Maya, it's like we're in this. It's like all smoke and mirrors, right? And it's like we're underwater and everything's distorted. And then you've got the firmament, okay? And that's just a frequency, like a different frequency. And then outside of that is 5D and beyond, right? Yeah. So that they already exist, right, out there. And then you've got interdimensional things. So there's not planets or
I was going to ask you when you said Saturn. Is Saturn
they're like realms.
Land or?
They're realms. They're realms, and they're luminaries. So they're stargates. So Venus is a stargate. Saturn is a stargate. It's a stargate. So Mars, the Mars stargate. So when people say they went to Mars or the Mars
they
jump
actually go
program,
through the stargate and they go somewhere, don't they?
Stargate, and it's a frequency. So the Mars frequency is like it's war. Okay, so it's like other beings, whether they're from Venus or other dimensions, go to that stargate to experience duality, to experience war, to experience the conflict and all of that. And we're talking about higher dimensional beings. So many of us are from those other places, the star beings, whatever you want to call it. So a lot of people say the Pleiades and all of that. I don't resonate with Pleiadian. I'm not a Pleiadian, so that's not where I'm from. But this avatar in here, we came in here it's a rescue mission. So one of the things that we did was from our realms, right? We're like, all right, let's recreate. Let's put the friggin', Greek ancient architecture in there, right? It's not ancient Greek. It's like where we come from, right? So, for example, Venus, a lot of the architecture, it's gorgeous. It's this beautiful, stunning place, and it almost looks like this Arcadian reality, and it's beautiful and it's gorgeous. And Atlantean stuff, all of these things, they were put in here to remind us. And I have a theory that a lot of the Tartarian structures are not working because they're replicas.
Yeah, fakery.
I've thought of that for sure.
Right. And then the real ones actually do work in these higher dimensions.
In the outside. So it's like a stage set.
Yeah.
It's like a stage set.
Yeah. And that's why it looks kind of like, sometimes they look kind of brand spanking new or whatever, but it's not and the thing is we're trying to understand a physical reality with distance and time, but the thing is it could even though I'm describing it like that, it could just exist all at once in the same place.
I mean, fuck time.
Time doesn't exist outside of this.
I don't believe in time now, like I don't believe in the police. Like, fuck that all off. Like, honestly, that has been such a block for everyone to get their heads around. And like if we look at the fakery of these buildings, like, I mean, look at the ghost cities they're building in China right now. They're literally in our face making fake shit, and they're literally making fake Tartarian buildings.
China is the hub of AI, by the way.
China,
AI, Reptilian, I
have so much
we went
to
and
say
did
about
a remote.
China.
We did a remote view on that. Me and it's Astral Journey. It's a really quick one. I do it with these two gorgeous healers from South Africa. They're just amazing. And we were going to do some healing on China, and usually you can't even penetrate there, but it was so full of black goo. It was just like, we went back to the origins of how it got created. It's just full of like black goo, AI, reptilian sort of control. and it's the hub, right? And the other thing, and it's very like the transhumanism sort of stuff, the organ trafficking, the torture, that all of that, they're like, it's like they're doing exactly what the dark controllers want. They're doing it exactly, and they're being rewarded. And what I found in one of the journeys, or the conclusion I came to, I can't remember if it was the Antarctica one, it must have been the Antarctica video. The Forbidden City was given to them as this one place where they weren't, so you go in there and there's no interference from AI. That was the one reward they got. It was like no interference, like no one can spy on you in there. And so the frequency in there was like, the reptilians were like, all right, because you've done our bidding. You've
like they've won, haven't they? They've won. That's what it feels like to me. They've whatever, all the nations were competing for Satan's grace, it feels like, and China's won. And I feel like they won decades ago. And like since before the one child policy, and after that, it's just been about like, they're just claiming what theirs. So in Melbourne, I don't know this, JC, the Chinese people, and there's shitloads here, and I'm not racist, okay, but I'm just telling you what my eyes are seeing. They're literally, they have all been told to take the Chinese vaccine, which doesn't have mRNAs in it. So the Chinese here and in China are not having their DNA manipulated biologically. They are not dealing with the same genocide. So to me, it's just like, they're just ready to become the supreme race. Like they're going to be rolled out. They've got all their fake cities. They've like rolled out into all the governments around, because like China is such a nefarious communistic presentation that like for there to be literally millions of them here in Melbourne City means that they've been given permission to come here. They just can't come at their own free will. Like these guys are in like a total police state. Like they are here for a reason that is about to unfold here in Melbourne, but they're basically being protected. And I think they're about to become the new reset race. Like us, the whites, have got like, did the last 200 years, we must have done something awesome for Satan's grace, because like it's been the dominant force. And now I think the next reset was planned to be Chinese, as a basically they have proven themselves to be the most callous, heartless, like unjust, unhuman force on the plane.
Yeah, well, one thing we definitely noticed when we looked at this and we looked at the people was a lot of them were already taken over by black goo, which just sounds really horrible, because you've still got the Falun Dafa, what do they call it? The ones that are tortured. Falun Gong, Falun Gong. They're being tortured. They're just the most peaceful, beautiful people, and they're being harvested for their organs and stuff. We don't want this to be about race, and this is the thing. We're not allowed to talk about this stuff, because why? Because fucking woke culture just says like, you can't say that. Oh my God, you can't say that. This is not about anything to do with that. All we've got to do is we understand that this is the shit that's going on in this holographic dimension, and we're going to shift our frequency out of that and manifest this discovery of these other worlds and these crystal cities, which can I read you the little bit that the tree gave about that?
Please do.
So that video, I think, was number 185. I can't remember, but you'll see it. Oh, by the way, and there's this Russian channel called Satori.
I saw.
She's got like, I've like got all these Russian people going, I love you, Josie. I was like, what? What's going on?
I mean,
and then they go, your videos are being, I watch you through Satori. And I thought it was this app. I thought it was a translation app. And it was this lady who's just taking her time and translating my videos. It's beautiful.
Well, I mean, that's where the Ringing Cedars of Russia came from. And I love that series of books. Those 9 books were like, I think, have you read them?
I've got the whole set, and I gifted Mark a whole set for Christmas last year, and I have never had time to read them, but me and Mark are like, we're going to make this into an audiobook. Let's do it in an audiobook. But I got, so Janice Barcelo got me onto that, who is this wonderful lady who talks about, she's just an activist and an amazing researcher, and talks about natural birth and, like, and all that stuff. But she's really into the Ringing Cedars. And then I contacted, when I was sending this to Mark, the Australian distributor and publisher of the Ringing Cedars rings me.
Right.
And then we start talking and he goes, yeah, I've got to ship these to, because of COVID, this is happening. And then we just start talking and he's like, he's friends with Janice Barcelo. And then on top of that, he's like, oh, are you JCK? Like, yeah. He's like, I watch you. I was like, oh. So we were like, oh, yeah, we're going to do a show together. And I never got to do that because I haven't read the freaking books. I got to read the books. I got to read.
Well, look,
I only started the first one.
The first one is written very poorly, but by the ninth, it's the most elegant piece you'll ever read. But what stood out to me about those books, which is timely for this dialogue, is that I left that 9 series and said to myself, that series of books is the highest vibration of imagination and imagery that I have ever read. Like the imagery that book presents to your brain is just the highest I have ever read. And that's saying a lot because, I go after that stuff. So for anyone out there who wants to trigger new visions and images in their brain, like this series of books, just brilliant.
So that's, you can buy, and you can buy all the stuff from there as well. But the Ringing Cedars, what was I going to say about that? They say to read it like under a tree, like to actually sit and read it in nature and be wholly present and to really get the information out of it.
Channeled? Is that a channeled series or is it just, do we know? Or is it just
the guy, I don't know, was it channeled? Because I believe he says he experienced it.
Yeah, so it's an awesome story. So the
I only read Anastasia,
Vladimir is just a Russian trader basically who's on a boat trading down the Siberia river and the Tigra river, and he just comes across this woman called Anastasia, and they go on this lifetime of communication and relating, and they end up having children eventually. But it's so profound because she's like this enigma, the book's written so she's so miraculous, and the book is so miraculous you can't imagine it could be real, but when you're reading it it's real. That's why it's such a masterful 5D. Book of him. It's totally 5D. And it goes through the presentation about love, about education, about families, about dolmens and consciousness. And the last book goes through how we got into this mess with enslavement and the priests and the money system. And honestly, guys,
it's a manual for 5D.
It really is.
It is. And
so
for
gorgeous.
Creating communities. Yep. Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. So let me read this bit. You'll probably hear my daughter laughing in the background. She's having a good old time. Okay. I'm just going to read this so that we can talk about the... So this is what the tree said to me. It's just in the first couple of paragraphs. So we are one with you, and we form a knowing that traverses across all planes and all territories. We are connected in both the root systems and the frequencies that are carried across time and space. We allow you to sit here so that you may receive the information you seek about this big brown land of ours. We know that you wish to know about the tunnel systems beneath the surface, and there are many that expand across this land you know as Australia. We are searching for you for the information you seek, for it is buried deep underground. There are layers and dimensions beneath the surface of this earth, and according to your frequency, there are some that can be accessed physically and others that must be accessed in higher dimensions. They are attempting to create a technology to be able to withstand the different densities beneath the surface and the frequency changes that will permit one to access the parts of Australia that are forbidden. These parts are held in sacred grounds across the land. There are clusters of crystal cities spread across this land, and these clusters are connected by thought lines. And these are activated when the originals sing into the song lines of the land. The originals who live on the surface knew how to activate these dimensions beneath the ground. They knew the earth was alive, and they knew that if they sang on a certain frequency along certain lines, the crystal cities would emit a charge that would rise up into the surface and bless those with abundance on the land. The Dark Ones, however, knew about this, and in their greed came to disrupt this process of give and take with the surface people and those who dwell in the dimensions below. What you see in the stories of Shambhala and Mount Shasta are similar to the crystal cities beneath the ground of this big brown land.
Mm-hmm.
We, the trees, are told of the purpose of these times to awaken within you, the sleeping ones, the greatest gifts. Those gifts have been forgotten and will not be awoken until they are shaken out of you, until the pressure becomes too great in order for you to reach deep down within you for that spark of creation, that remembering, that soul mission that you forgot when all the noise around you distracted you. Let this mission tell you now. Call upon it. Do not ask how to do this. Simply connect. Connect into the earth. Connect into your heart. And so it goes on. And but that's the bit about the crystal cities. And so essentially what they're saying is that there's, as she was giving this to me, because I was going into this complete like stupor as I was saying it, but I was leaning against a tree and my whole mind, I just felt like I was floating out of my body as I was just repeating into my recording device what I was hearing and feeling. And there was this big eucalyptus tree on the ridge down near Gordon Falls in Lura. And they told me these little trees, because I was like, I need some messages from the trees. And the little trees were like, go to the big trees over there. They know that they got the secrets. They know. So I could feel, as she was saying this, I get images and I could see the map of Australia and I could see there was quite a few crystal cities clustered across the eastern seaboard. And one of them, I told you guys the other day, I kept hearing the word Gympie in my head. And I was like, where's Gympie? Is that in like, and I was like, where's Gympie? So I didn't know where Gympie was, right? So I had to look it up. I was like, yeah, that's about around where I saw this crystal city map in my head. Because I saw one up kind of near Byron Bay area.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit inland around Nimbin, just under there, Mullumbimby. I saw it, I felt it around that region. I felt like wherever that, remember when the bushfires came through in 2019 and it was orchestrated and it was like, yeah, we're doing it for the rail system. Do you remember how like they said that they destroyed all that? That was the line that I saw.
Wow.
I saw these clusters. So what I'm imagining is this. You've got Crystal City. So if we've got layers, whether it's a physical dimension or it's energetic, right? So we might have dimension, firmament, water, another dimension, firmament, water, right? You might have it like that. And in one of my astral journeys, I did go underground and then into this water and then into another dimension. It was really weird. And then came up out of this water. It was really weird. There's just like
the BFG.
layers. Yeah. It was like layers of this stuff. So, so we might have the crystal cities with these amazing, it's like this reverse reality of this beautiful, almost like fairy realm. Okay. So these higher dimensional beings who are living in harmony, and it looks just, you know, this is where that inner earth or Agartha and all of that comes in. But then you got these, what the dark ones did is they disrupted that frequency with their dums and their sacrifices. And I do know that there's these main portals all over the world. One of them is in the Vatican, where the Vatican is located. And they purposefully do their black magic rituals to keep that shut down and us locked in so that we never get that true connection to who we are to ascend. They don't want us ascending. Why? Because they're harvesting us. They don't want you to wake up and know who you are. Right. And so they need to keep you locked in. Now, if we can clear those, this is why the underground tunnels are being cleared. We've got 5D help. I reckon we've got galactic help. I think we've got other people who exist in these other higher dimensions helping and coming in this rescue mission and trying to clear this satanic stuff that's going on. Because what it is, and this fits in with the Uluru thing, because underneath Uluru, I saw a fucking thing like this, right? And it was like a sphere of light. It was this crystal and it was so beautiful. And it was like this ball of light, but it almost looked solid. And then there was writing around it. It was like gold it looked like light language, or it looked like kind of like Lord of the Rings, writing, or Armenian or something. It just looked like this amazing language. And I knew how to read it when I saw it in the journey. And it was, I am the Alpha and the Omega. Right. So, and this was all around it. And it was almost like that was the key. That was under Uluru, and I knew that was a heart. But what I also saw was that there was this black stuff, like black goo, kind of gripping it like a spider and trying to hold on and interfere with Gaia's energy, right? And that's what they've done. That's what essentially what they've done to keep us locked in. So they've found these ley lines, these crystal grids, these thought lines, and they've pierced the land with these big monoliths, or those Freemasonry sort of structures, right? These obelisks, and they've then key areas put abattoirs, or they've put human sacrifice, and they've done this in very key areas to disrupt this beautiful energy that's underneath that the original people were in touch with. And that's what we're dealing with now. And then now it's like we can't contain these people anymore. And then I've got this theory that maybe these jabs are just getting rid of the holographic people, and they want to be left with us that are not holographic, so they can harvest our energy.
Or they're a mass sacrifice to like really slam these vortexes shut. Because I've got this theory that like, and I haven't spoken to you, Cambell, but this week I was like really chewing on this, like, because you guys know, have you heard the term the vril?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the term that that black goo you're talking about, I put down to, I would call it the vril. And that's come, like the vril has come up as a parasitic energy all the way through the medieval illustrated encyclopedia books that like give us a lot of real information that is fucking freaky, by the way, like crazy stuff, like, like monsters, totally genetically modified entities, and like, people like walk legs with bums and heads on their ass, sort of crazy stuff. Like
that's like the stuff I saw under Woomera. It was horrible. This chimera. Chimera. The torture that they were doing on the Indigenous people. I've still got horrible images of these, what they've done. Like they've made these, I can't even tell you. It was like the most deformed things, those experiments they were doing on them. Yeah, that's deep underground.
Well, that you can actually see like so much evidence of that in these sort of medieval encyclopedias, art books, like a big part of the Tartarian
Hieronymus Bosch sort of paintings.
Yeah, I mean, like the big part of the Tartarian research is going back through those illustrations, really. Like they give so much away. Like the other day I was looking at a tree that literally was growing bottoms, like that, like, and human parts, in these old illustrations. Like, and
well, what is this similar to Atlantis? Like, you know how they said that the fall of Atlantis was because they were making like this island of Dr. Moreau kind of thing, where
I think that's one example of like a whole like history that is so horrific and hellish that we couldn't even comprehend it. Like, and in amongst all that is the giants, and then these grotesque gods that literally, and it's all grotesque, like lots of weapons that are piercing anuses and rapes, and it's so grotesque.
But do you think that goes back a long, long way, or do you think this is just recent? This is like
I think it's the last reset. I think it was.
This is the invasion, right? This is the the whatever you want to call it, the parasite.
The parasite.
So my pendulum said, I asked when's the last reset, and it said 350 years ago, and I was like, okay. And then I spoke to a friend who was doing research on mudfloods and stuff, and she goes, yeah, they've calculated it to be about 359 years. Yeah. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, my pendulum was right.
Yeah.
Wow. So, and I think I got it in meditation first, and then I checked with the pendulum, and it said approximately 350 years. Yeah. Yeah. So
like that's
so crazy.
well, that real energy to me, that parasitic energy, it's very potential that it, like from the underground, and they were talking about that being infused in humans from birth, like this parasitic energy, and then bringing that through all the Tartarian tech, which were from what we've pieced together was so harmonizing and so high frequency when it was operating like pure somatics and geometrically beautiful, and like no one really needed to eat, and it was just like this very high vibing frequency and very healing. And I can just see how the real could have come in from underneath and hijacked that technology to serve this agenda, like hijacked the sematics, hijacked the ether energy and just twisted it, and that's how they've created this false dome.
Did the real have something to do with Antarctica as well? Because I've sensed that they did. Definitely. And this is where the Nazis were
the Black Sun and Thule,
right, okay.
The real society was
that's
like,
right.
Society,
because that's what it looked when I went down into Antarctica, which to me felt it was a dimension. It wasn't a location. And it wasn't where they said it was.
Yep.
Yes, there is a place called Antarctica, which is, I believe, it's that ring of ice. And I think I got that in one of my videos, like one of my Patreon videos, way back. We talked about that. We tapped into it. But the dimension was like a second dimension, or the 2-dimension, right? So it's like a place of consciousness where they go, but it's what there was a meeting with the dark, and time didn't exist there, and it was just so freaky. But it felt like bloody Nazi youth. I don't know how to explain this, but it felt like that I saw this ring of military sort of surrounding this meeting, and they were standing there. They were in a trance. And I remember I looked at one of them and I thought, he's from the RAF. Like, I just remembered seeing that. And it was just like this weird thing of like, wow, what if they're using the consciousness of a lot of these military people to go into these places, right? But I don't know what I was saying about this, but yeah, the center of it looks like this. There's this famous picture of a meeting with the Nazis, and there's like this platform. It's almost like a circular kind of platform, and they're all standing around it, and it looks really ominous. And it looked like that. It looked like this meeting in this circle, but on one side there was all these demonic creatures, these entities. I saw a Draco very clearly. Yeah. He was the head of all of them, and he ended up attacking me after, because he saw me. It was horrible, because they don't usually see you if you're doing this properly. But yeah, on the other side was the politicians, and they were like, it's always a representative. So it's not necessarily that person, but it's a representative of humans. And they were negotiating with them, when is this going to be over? Because what they were doing was they knew their time was up, right? They knew their time was up, and they're ready to get shipped off out of here. This is the stuff that I don't understand. It correlates with a lot of traditional talk in biblical texts, but here we go with the biblical text and Armageddon. What's to say that Armageddon hasn't happened every 350 years? Why, what if it's, people could go, oh yeah, but that was written 2,000 years ago, and oh yeah, it still hasn't happened. We're waiting. Well, what if it did? What if it did happen? And we're just repeating it again, and it just forms a different thing, and there's a different beast system every time. There's a different sort of formation of that.
Yeah.
I mean, who's playing this big cosmic joke on us?
Yeah. I know. How did we get here?
How did we get here? I know, that's the question.
Just get me out of here. I'm done.
I've
been here 26,000 years. Well, time doesn't exist, so like all of this is all occurring simultaneously. God's imagining it. We're just playing it out.
Feels like a long time, though.
It feels so long.
So is the dome gonna was the dome put here, and is it going to disappear?
I feel when now I never published this, but I was doing a journey and I never got to finish it because I got interrupted, but I saw the giants.
Yeah.
And because I was trying to go back, and I was like, let me see, when did like the flood occur and all of that? And I think it was pre-flood. I saw this mist over the world. The people in this, I saw the Nephilim. They were Nephilim. And oh my, it was so real. And this guy would have been, I'd say, let's see, how high am I ceiling? 3 meters. So this guy would have been about 4 meters tall. So what's that? Is that like 12 feet?
12 to
yeah,
16.
Right. Yeah. So and he had this weird deformed kind of head, like this big clunky head.
2 layers of teeth.
Yeah, he didn't look like, He had this sharp teeth. He didn't look like a cyclops, but he had this weird, clunky, deformed head. And he was wearing a skin like of an animal, like fur. And he's in this village. And the village was it was like a very lush kind of savanna. It looked like a savanna, but there was a mist kind of around. And the village was like, they didn't look, like people think, oh, ancient times, they were all dark skinned. They were all different. There was blonde people. There was all different looking people. And he walks into this village and he's like, blah, blah. And then and everyone's like, oh no, here comes the giant. And he just grabs this goat. He grabbed a goat and he's like just eating it. And then he grabs this young lady.
Yep.
And just drags her off, and then he takes her to this mountaintop and rapes her, and she rapes
destroys
her basically. Yeah, destroys her. And I was like watching this, and I could feel that this was the start of when they were going to encapsulate us in this dome. Now, my feeling was that it was around 6,000 to 7,000 years ago. Now,
do you know where that was?
Oh my God, I've got something to share.
Was that Albion?
It felt like I was trying to sense it. It did feel like I'm hearing in my head Mesopotamia. Okay, so that's Iraq.
There's a story about
region.
Gog, the last giant from Albion, which is the UK, and he wore a skin and was like walking around like that and used to eat goats. And in the end, someone threw him off a cliff to get rid of him.
Wow. Well, I don't know. I'm hearing Mesopotamia. This could, because we don't know what the landscape was like in these different regions. They could have been lush. There could have been places that were the place exactly because New York and York and blah, blah, blah,
forget maps.
Because we don't know. Also, a lot of people are saying that everything was occurring in England, like all of the biblical stuff is occurring in England, and this is what. It's just. I don't know. So, but I did feel, and then I got interrupted just when I was about to discover that these reptilian forces or whatever were going to come in and go, right, we're going to lock this down. This is our little experiment here, right? This is where we're going to invert everything and take over and sort of infiltrate this whole thing. So this is the experiment. So what we're going to say, so 6,000 years, this is interesting because what do the creationists say about the Bible?
6,000 years.
Yeah.
Fucking oath. And so basically Ramtha, who was one of my teachers for ages, I love Ramtha. I've still always says the earth had been quarantined, that we've been quarantined, we can't leave. That he never specifically said that we're a flat earth, but he said, never leave the dome, you're quarantined. But get this, I know all about the giants because 6,000 years ago, JC, I was a giant hunter. And I know my past life. I have remembered it so much. I know my job, I was a man and I was big, and my job was to hunt giants, like to protect people in the village. And I know exactly what they look like and how they felt and exactly how you described. And like, I died that lifetime. My back was broken. Eventually my back was broken and, I died, but I remember it, and my timeline is 6,000 years ago. Wow. And giant hunting was, and so like if that was the origin of this whole mess that we're in, the parasitic origin potentially. But Ramtha says we got quarantined. Now, I mean, like if I think
that would be the virus, the AI.
Yep. And I also like my very first past life, my memory goes way back to architecting the plane, to being one of the main architects. And what happened then on the plane that I was on is this, it was called a weapon. This weapon was created, and it was so bad that it actually turned the race, and we weren't sex, we were like a genderless race, but there was a council of 13, always a council of 13. There was a council of 13 of which I was in the middle of. And in this time, this is the beginning of when this weapon was innovated, was created, was generated. And the thing about it, it had no soul. It had no soul source.
Is that
connection.
like a demiurge, or is that, you know?
Yeah, it sounds
It
like
was
it,
just,
doesn't it?
yeah, it was just called a weapon, and the weapon generated fear. But what it did to the population of that plane was it got them to the point where they're killing themselves. So, and this had never happened before. This consciousness, this understanding had never happened. And we, the council, made a decision. Like, this sounds crazy, but
Is this your fault, Cal? Is this all your fault?
Oh my God. Look, I have questioned these things. There's a lot I don't understand about my past, but I'm just telling you the bits that have come out clearly. And I spent a lot of time with a super soldier who actually so hello, that whole thing's real, by the way. I've seen them cut their arms off and it's grown back and so much crazy shit there. But on this particular topic, if we to look at it just as even an analogy or a metaphor, from the origin of this, it was created, it was soulless, it wasn't of source. It generated fear. It was biological, and it turned people into a zombie-ish race that ended up self-destructing themselves. And in order for us to do something about it, we made the decision to destroy the whole plane. To stop it from moving.
That fits in perfectly with a lot of my theories, and also Dolores Cannon's stuff that she's discovered through her clients, or did discover through her clients, about the resets and who they are. So if you think about this demiurge or whatever, it is the antithesis of God. It's anti-creation. This is what the trees were saying. They said so if God is consciousness and source and all love and light, okay, in order to experience itself, whatever the Vedics, that the Hindus called it, that needed to create the absolute opposite. So you've got the absolute opposite, and then you've got this plane of and everything in between,
polarities,
right?
Yeah,
the polarity. So and then you've got the quantum, like the absolute infinite possibilities in between. Yeah. So of course you're going to have the deepest, darkest depravity on one side and the light on the other, and that's what we're seeing playing out now. My belief is that if we can imagine it as a physical realm with a physical dome in this particular part for our little 3D brains to get our head around, in this particular part of the world, and they locked down this system and they told you, hey, it's like a little Truman Show, right? Hey, we're in control. No, this is all you got. And you're just this little ball hurtling in space. So if what I believe is that there are these portals that will allow us to get out if we could clear them and activate them. There is a way that's going to be done. It came through in my hypnosis sessions. I did the quantum, the QHHT, or the beyond quantum hypnosis sessions. Now that takes you to the deepest part of your brain, where it's your subconscious, and it connects to your higher self, and that can't lie. So it gives you these answers and these messages about these truths. And the stuff that came through was like unbelievable. It's like my past life, my life in between lives. I didn't go to heaven. I was on a spaceship.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not even from here. So my theory is, when I saw that giant and I did the remote view, what I believe, and you might be also one of these, well, I have no doubt about this, you guys, we're actually these are just avatars here in this little game that we're playing, but there are actually earthlings that come from Earth and originate from here, and the consciousness originated from here. But then there's us from these external realms who are being here for thousands of years, helping seed the planet. And we're going, right, we've got to go in there and help them. This is the last time, man, because we keep doing these resets. It's like, it's not working. Let's do it again. And I just feel like this is the last ditch effort to get as many people out as possible. And then that takes us, talk with my hands. Then that takes us to missing 411. So here's another thing that came through. Do you know about missing 411, David Paulides' research? No. So this was about all these missing people in all these national parks across the world.
Wasn't there a show called the 4100 and they all disappeared or something?
Oh, there was a TV series. Yes.
Well, I believe that there's these parts. So what he's done is he's just acted like a policeman, a retired police officer, and he's sort of gotten all this information and sort of mapped it out and gone, wow, they're all located in these national parks. And then the national parks were like hiding the information of these missing people. And it's like, why? What's going on? There's been, it's just so crazy. But there were people where they were missing, and it wasn't an animal, wild animal or anything like that. It's like just their boots were left, or like they had this feeling of taking off their clothes. The locations where a lot of them went missing in these national parks, there was a lot of granite rocks around. There was certain terrain, there was specific sort of frequencies around, and so there was these locations. Yosemite National Park Yellowstone was another one. There was this hub of missing people, and there's always these same similarities of, like, if there's a line of people doing a trek, always the person on the end of the line was the one that went missing. It was just crazy how this all worked. But the information that came through in this hypnosis session was that in some of these parts of the world, there's this sort of like, imagine like a fabric of where there's a time warp or a thing, thinner. And then they just go into this other dimension. Now, I got shown that a lot of these people that were missing and never to be found again, because some of them were found dead and they don't know what. It was weird, and it was like they were immersed in water and drowned in water. That was the other thing that was weird about what was happening with these bodies that they were finding when they did find them again. And they'd go back and they'd look for them, and in the same place where the whole trek of people were looking for them, they found these bodies. So they'd already looked in those places.
They weren't there to start with, and then they'd appear. Yeah, right.
And they appeared, or they'd appear in a tree high up somewhere, and it was just this weird thing. But some of them that didn't come back, that they didn't find, I got shown in the hypnosis session that they went to the 5D. They went to the other world and they're welcomed with open arms. And this place, honestly, it sounded very similar to the ringing cedars. There was a lot of alpine things. This is the way it was shown to me. They wear a lot of natural fibers, so wool and silk.
Basically, poison's missing, right?
Yeah.
Or the poison is missing.
Poison
across the board.
Poison and reptilian interference is missing. Yeah.
Is there a connection between like the crystal trees, like old crystal trees, and crystals and trees, and like what's the deal there?
I'm not so sure. Do you mean about the giant trees that
giant,
are like crystalline and not?
Yeah.
So basically, our mountain tops.
Yes. So it's not silica based. It's crystalline. Oh, not carbon based. Sorry, it's silica based. It's crystalline based. Yeah, that's definitely something that was shown. But they still acted like normal people. Are still dressed. They still had like houses and things like that. But it was just more in commune with nature. That's how it was shown in the visions that I was getting in that.
Was it like pre-dome? Is that what happened? Was that us?
So what happens every time there's a reset? Some of us get out, and they're the 5D military. So these are part of the military. So this is the thing that's the white hats.
That's why we're the ones we've
been waiting for. They know about us. They know about us. Their whole entire existence is we've got to get them out.
Yeah, that's where the Q quantum tech comes from.
And that's where that we're communicating. So the 5D military, these beautiful people, they are trying to send communication in different frequency to the military here, or some parts of the military here. They translated that, and then they're like deciphering it and what have you. That's what the information that I got was like. So it's partly what you call galactic. So galactic is just us in higher dimensions.
Yeah.
It's us from the future. It's us, in 7D, 9D, whatever. A lot of the ships are 7D that come into the stratosphere. Now, recently there was a portal opening, so this is the first time ever that the dome is opening. This is what I think happens, that there's a frequency shift and that the dome starts to open, okay? Yeah. For it to fully open and for us to get out of here and rescued and be taken out, because I think that's what happens, but we're not supposed to know that happens.
Fucking great. We've got a heads up.
That they go,
come in again, or
just put them to sleep fucking again.
Well, again, Tartaria is a crack. It's a crack, man.
It's just like, fucking here we go with these fucking sleepers, and they put us to sleep and then they take us off on a ship, right? I think that's what everyone was picking up on, because hundreds of people all over the world getting these QHHT sessions were all getting the same thing, that these ships were coming, some solar flash was happening, and people were getting taken out of here. But the thing is, this is the dilemma. Your little 3D brain shouldn't know that stuff, right? Because it'll blow your mind, because you're living in this reality for a reason. You're still living in this reality for a reason, to play out or the mistakes and the jabbed and this and that and whatever and school.
Oh, so boring now.
Right. And it's like, you're here for a reason to affect change and to learn about yourself and clear all this old programming because that's part of your soul's journey. And if you knew how you're going to get out of here, you're going to, well, fuck this, I'm just going to sit back and wait for the spaceships, right? That's the problem. You can't, knowing that stuff is probably not supposed to be, we're not supposed to know.
Well, you just said that we're not the natives here. Like, are we thinking, and clearly they're different to us, right? So I have a theory. 3D and we're thinking, and we can see more, but they can't.
Yeah. Well, I have a theory. So Dolores Cannon and some other people have called them background people, Chris Geo and Cherie Geo from Beyond the Veil, they've always coined the term NPCs, just from like computer games and non-player characters. I don't want to dehumanize anyone, but like I think there's a lot of people in this matrix that are holographic. They still are. Now, the way it was described, my higher self said in the hypnosis session, they were programmable biobots. Okay, so the hologram is so real and like you feel it, like they can give birth, they can do all of this stuff. So then that takes us to the Georgia Guidestones, right? There's 500 million in perpetuity, right? So if you did the calculations, and we kind of can estimate that the population of this earth is not what they say it is, number one, okay? It's not fucking 9 billion or whatever. What did they say? 7 billion?
7 billion. 7 billion.
It's not 7 billion.
No, I agree.
It's just not. So if we reduce that, right, and there's always that 80-20 rule. You go, yeah, about 80% are asleep and 20% are awake. Well, I would say even a fraction of that, maybe. But if you did the calculations and thought about it, it would work out that only about 500 million are these light star seeds, right? There's organic consciousness that comes from source that is not part of the hologram. And the hologram is set there so that we can, it's like a game. It's a game, right? And we're just going to get out of here. And that's the whole thing. That's where the forgetting happens. But all of this will blow most people's minds because they're just dealing with their 9 to 5 and how do I avoid getting the jab. And Dolores Cannon would call this stuff mind candy because it's so convoluted and so unbelievable for our linear way of thinking that you can't get your head around it, and it's not good to indulge in it for too long. But this is where the nonsense comes in, right? What you're calling nonsense.
Well, this is where Tartaria comes in. As a real bridge for that, because like first of all, if you start with nature and Tartaria, you've got to open your eyes to the fact that mountains are trees, to the fact that oceans are quarries, to the fact that most other rock formations are melted buildings. Like you're opening your eyes up to seeing nature again. And I've heard quite a lot that animals, the majority of animals are randomly generated computer bots as well. Like the formations bird fly, they're just randomly, and there's been all this.
The oversouls, they've got an oversoul.
And there are all these like mandala type videos that have came out in the last 12 months where like people are just filming birds that have just
frozen,
got frozen in the air.
Seen that.
Right? And you're just like, I'm just like fucking
the matrix is crumbling, man. Because this is just, we could go on for hours and hours with this because this is just crazy. So URAnon did that 5-hour documentary, which I uploaded for him on YouTube because I thought it needs to be back up. But I took out the flat earth out of the title so that it would be still there so people could see it, right? Because that triggers a lot of stuff. But that was there, and I put all his links. I think I need to go back.
YouTube to put a little thing under your video.
Yeah. Oh well. So there's he talks about all of that and the quarrying and all of that, but that takes us back to Enki and Enlil and the whole
I was going to ask,
Tiamat.
Is that what this place is? Was it like a mined area and it was like, oh well, that's derelict land. Yeah, you can have your experiment there. Go to the gully.
Yeah, well, I think let's think about it in just frequency and think about it as if Source created a realm for beings to exist and there's these. Okay, so let's look at this. This is so complex. And it's not just one God. This is the other thing. There's like all these universes, multiverses and stuff. So if the God of this realm, the source of this realm creates beings that then evolve, and then those beings that evolve start seeding different realms and different experiments. And this particular one grew a certain type of being, and this was lush, and then naturally there would be a frequency for duality to occur, where there would be a section where it's going to mirror it. It is the mirror world. It's this distorted reality. It's the mirror world. It's like, have you ever tried to argue with a person who truly believes that the jab is like going to save them and it's real? I just had an argument this morning with somebody who tried to say that, you know, supplements are poison, and I'm just like, whoa, okay, but you took 2 jabs. It's like, wow, really? So they're just like completely in there. All I can do is this, because that's the energy. It's like that. It's like, right? So I think, maybe Enki, Enlil, Tiamat, all of that stuff, that goes back to the quarrying, and is it a Gigi or a Gigi or whatever? They were the little minions they were the little minions.
Well, I even heard, I read a whole series of books about Anu, and of course Enki and Enlil are the children of Anu, and then that all tied into the Nibiru, this like version of whatever Nibiru was, obviously another dimensional portal probably. But what I read about that was that this whole world that we know, this realm we know under this dome, was Anu's creation, and that he brought water, that there was no water here. He actually put water under the dome, because without water there was no carbon life form. And so our everything that's grown and lived here has come from, which inverted the silicon. Like, so we've got a carbon dependency life. And it's so interesting because Jay-Z, you probably don't, I don't know, I work in regenerative agriculture, and of course it fucking does my head in, because without like intending it to, we can't help it. People are obsessed with climate change within that field. And the whole next push, the push that's happening under the mandates and the jab is zero carbon emissions. Like it's all going after carbon, getting rid of carbon, which is just going to like cause so much stress and taxes on it's just a whole nother layer of this agenda, right? So it's very interesting that we look at these mountains from the old realm. You know, they've still got their silicon format, and yet we are here as carbon life forms, and getting out of the dome, we're going to have to leave our bodies. I'm pretty sure our vehicle has to drop. We have to change it. Something has to change within our vehicle.
So what I got shown, which you don't have to believe because I still don't understand it, is that we take our bodies with you. So you're not dead, okay? So when you ascend, this is let's just put this as a theory. It's a just dream. We're just fantasizing, right? So what's happening is that there's the ships which have our light bodies in them, okay? Especially if you're one of the beings from outside and you've come in here into the avatar, because I can remember coming in here to help the humans, right? So our light bodies are still up there on the ships, right? And it's in the true form of what you really look like. And let me tell you, oh my God,
you're hot.
I'm really tall. I'm really tall, and flat stomach. Don't need a bra. You know, it's pretty good. So anyway, but I think what happens is, what they told me is that when you go up, oh, here comes my daughter. Hang on, wait, don't come on camera. Hang on, I've got to have to stop the video. Hang on.
No worries.
I can still talk to you. Do you want to go back inside? Sorry, guys.
Oh, you're good.
Do you know, it's really interesting, like talking about Gympie. I'm going to just bring it back to Gympie for a second before we get onto the silicon carbon.
I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because Gympie's under attack, Campbell. You're like, we've watched, right? This week, have you been following it? This week, where the Gympie pyramid is, this fucking week, and Evan and Stephen Strong are right there, like they're doing this mega conference on it. There's been an Indigenous barricade around that pyramid forever now, like, and the Queensland road transport has like gone through this bullshit process, and I believe it's been in the bullshit court process, and claimed that there's no Indigenous significance to the area, and they want to bulldoze through it to make a highway. And this week, the police turned up as representatives of the Queensland Road Authority and basically arrested and destroyed the Indigenous protective camp, and have started the process of actually bulldozing and destroying that pyramid. And if Jay-Z's like already picked up that there's a crystal
that's getting
city.
activated.
Yeah. So right now, did you hear that, Jay-Z? I just sidetracked. I was just
my daughter needed socks.
Oh, fair enough. That's like that reminds me of fucking The Meaning of Life. Douglas Adams, what was that series of books?
Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah, and all he needed was a towel. That's all he needed.
She ran in here. I need socks. I need socks.
I was just saying, Jay-Z, I don't know if you knew this, but I'm just taking it way back to the beginning of the conversation where we were talking about the crystal cities and that you saw one in Gympie. I don't know if you know about Gympie and its pyramid there. There's
but Campbell, I think he said it in an email, but I was like, huh? Yeah. I never heard of that. Okay.
So Australia's one of probably the most significant pyramid in Australia is in Gympie. And get this right, this week, so there has been an Indigenous encampment in front of that pyramid now for years, protecting it from the police and the Queensland Road Authority. And this week, the road authority went in with the police and cleared out and arrested all the Indigenous and have got the go-ahead to bulldoze through that site and create a road. That's happened this week. And Evan and Stephen Strong are they're doing this urgent conference on it. And for you to sit, and I was going to bring that up on the show. And then you've said that's one of the main crystal city.
Yeah,
locations.
It definitely is. I mean, I don't know exactly where Gympie is located. Is it in Queensland?
It's up near it's North Queensland.
Okay, right. Okay, right. Yes. So that was one of the locations. And now that you talk about, just as you were talking about the pyramids, I'm wondering if this goes back to Thoth, like the emerald tablets of Thoth, and the halls of Amenti and things like that. So a lot of people say that under the pyramids is the halls of Amenti. I'm wondering if the pyramids are symbolic of the crystal, like the hub of the crystal cities. Maybe that's a pointer.
Have you seen it?
Or a mark.
Let me bring up you've never even seen a woman.
No, I don't. You guys know this stuff. I don't. I'm a complete intuitive. I don't do the. Sorry.
Well, anyway, I interrupted.
I know about the hieroglyphs in Gosford glyphs and stuff like that. I want to go there actually. I've got so one of my friends who I met through the channel is friends with Stephen and Evan Strong, and they I think he mentioned him on your video, Shane. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so him and his wife, they're lovely people. So so they said, yeah, we've got to go when everything's open again. We've got to go up to Gosford Glyphs and check it out. Oh, I'd love to do that.
I just can't believe that. I mean, if we're talking about accessing and locating a crystal city, I mean, I don't know if we're on the wrong tangent going to the desert, but maybe anyway. Let me just show this.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll be led to where we're supposed to go.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know if it's directly under Uluru, but.
Yeah, I think if we fixate on, and have too many rules, we'll miss the mark.
There's Gympie. Yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty clearly.
Well, we could always do another show where we do some dowsing over a map and try and work out where places.
So that's the big one. But which one are they? Bulldozing, Kel. They
want to put
bulldoze the little one.
I'll find that information.
As you're saying this, I can't shake the feeling that what we're seeing, any kind of horrible negativity that we're seeing, is almost like, here's the 3D, 5D split. It's like this is the illusion, right? And we're getting really caught up in, oh my God, but there's sacred land. It's almost like it's simultaneously existing, right? So you've got the sacred higher vibration version of that part of the land, and then you've got the holographic 3D illusion. So the 3D frequency, yes, they're bulldozing through there, but the higher vibrational frequency of that, they're not.
Did you see those pyramids that we saw on Google Earth? There's pyramids in Australia.
Yeah, bring that up.
They're
Cambell, got it?
literally, oh gosh, I don't know. They're sitting above. They're like superimposed, and it's actually on the Giza pyramids as well. They're like above the ground,
like they've put them onto Google Earth, and
but they're not on the ground. Like they're floating above the ground. And in Australia, there's these pyramids.
Well, why are they above the ground? So who did that? Who?
Well, it's like they're hiding something underneath them.
Hiding something, or it's so weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like there is also out here in the mountains that there is something really strong here, and I can't quite figure out where, because when I was under that tree overlooking this gorge in like Gordon Springs, I was feeling like there was a secret there, like there was something there. Now I'm sensing probably around Jenolan Caves.
We looked at Jenolan Caves.
Yeah, between there and Oberon, maybe something.
Well, I mean, like, let's take it like there are no mountains on this plane. So what are the Blue Mountains? Are they a melted civilization? What are they? Where did they come from? What are you sitting on? Like, I mean, if we look at sort of taking our imagination into, is it a quarry? Is it a melted building? Are they plateaus? Are they cut down trees? Are they?
Have you looked at Mud Fossil University? What do you think about his stuff? You know how he's saying like some of the rocks. I mean, I don't know, like you know, some of the rocks.
My big problem, he says is the size. Like he shows a dragon that literally is half of Africa, and I'm like, well, how could that exist in here?
Yeah, wow.
But other things, you know, there's a mountain in France, and I think it's called the Elephant, but in French or something. And this guy got a drone and went up, and it's got a hole in this mountain right where the ear hole of an elephant should be. And he flew a drone up in there and mapped it, and it's this, you know, the caves are exactly the same as the ear canals of an elephant. So but I always wonder, like,
but isn't that theory of we were bigger? Yeah, but could we just be living on the bones of and the you know, the remnants of other civilizations? I mean, and then it just solidifies and becomes stone or whatever. Who knows what the reset is as well? Because we've got this whole thing of this solar flash, but I've been told what it is in the hypnosis session. I'll have to tell you off air, but it's just got to cue the porn music, and then we're gonna and I'll tell you what it is. But there's oh wow, look at that
got posted on the Tartaria Facebook page today, and this is just the theory that all mountains are like giants, like that have been hit with a weapon and they've instantly
fallen over.
So we're shrinking. Are we shrinking, or are we growing? Because I know, each version are we shrinking? There was a theory with all of this stuff with the
what are we
different dimensions. Because what about in the colonial days, and the doorways were so tiny? You know, like in like Captain Cook cabin and all of that.
I often wonder if they're just built to just because we're told that people didn't live very long as well, right? We're told they're all dead by 30 or 40, but then you read about all these, you know, the actual people we've got information on, they're all lived till they were 80 and 90.
90s, yeah.
You know, so, and then all the buildings we've got have got massive doorways, but they show you these little wooden huts, you know, Captain Cook's cottage and that. And look, all the doorways, look how small they were.
Did you look at the Nazca lines and things like that? Now, did you know about that? Did you see that thing, that mummy they found inside it?
No.
Okay, so they found this mummy inside a cave in the Nazca lines, and I think I'm not sure if Gaia TV was. The authorities down there were like sort of tried to take it. I don't know what happened as a result of it, but there was somebody did a remote view on it, and I forget his name. I think his name is Brett something. He's a lovely guy. He does the remote viewing and remote viewing expert. And what he saw was this race of you could call them ETs, but they're not ETs, but they looked humanoid, but their heads were elongated. And that they were a race of beings that lived here once.
Like
and
the pharaohs.
Like the Homo capensis.
Yeah, but they kind of looked like kind of like a hybrid of other races and humans. And if I can find his video on it, on the Nazca lines and what he discovered, I don't know if he's deleted it off his channel, because it was before he went and presented it to the people when they were studying this mummy, and this was a real mummy, and her head is really long. Let me see if I can find it. And then,
the cone heads, they're just everywhere throughout history.
Nefertiti's statue. She's got a massive head.
It's those cone heads that make up that run through the Rothschilds and the Rockefeller bloodlines. Like all their ancestors have cone heads.
And not Michael Challenger, Brian Forrester, is that how you say it? Looks into them. He's had genetic testing, but they were always the royalties. What he's saying is, I've got this picture I'm just trying to find of an actual.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Head.
Have I allowed that?
Yeah.
Oh, look at us all being industrious.
Can you see? Can you see the? This is what they found.
Yeah. That's right? Yep.
So they believe it's female.
And look at the eyes. Hybrid. Yeah, that's such a hybrid. Yep.
But I need to find Brett.
That almost looks like ET hybrid.
It's
got the ET-ness to it.
You know, they did the whole proper. It is true, and it was almost covered in chalk. This type of chalk that they mummified.
Like the Egyptians used to use a lot, didn't they?
Like plaster.
Yeah, but it was real. They found bone marrow in it, I think. I mean, look at the feet. Can you see the three toes?
Yep.
And the three long fingers. Yeah.
Very ET, isn't it?
Very ET.
So it's interesting if you can find. Sorry about all these. Look at all the tabs if I can find
mine.
If I can find, oh God, why am I still using Google? No,
fuck, I need to go to the toilet. I've got to go wee. Coming back. I hate that.
Okay, well, I'll stop
sharing. Anything amazing,
all right, I'll stop sharing. I'll see if I can find this guy's channel on YouTube. He does like remote viewing. I forget. I used to follow him, but I haven't seen his videos in ages. So he kept getting stopped when he was doing his remote viewing.
Stopped by the people who are trying to look at, or
I don't know. He's had some weird. I forget his name. Brett. I forget his surname. He's a lovely guy from the US. Let me see if I can find it.
So I've got pictures of actual proper cone heads, like from today. Like
Brett Stewart.
These massive heads on these people.
Yeah. So his channel is called Technical Intuition. I'll just share the screen. You can probably hear my laughing in the background.
Yeah.
Again, she's having a good old time. So Technical Intuition is his channel, and he's got handsome young man. Let's see if I can get the one about the Nazca. I'm just going to pull that out so you don't look at my tabs. Playlists. Let's have a look.
You just drew my entire attention to your tabs, by the way. It's like, don't look at her tabs.
Don't look at me.
Why? What's up there?
He's taken a lot of his videos off, but I swear he had one about the Nazca lines. And if I could find it, now it's all about remote view, how to remote view. Yeah, he's taken it off. He must be behind a paywall now. But honestly, he had the whole thing where he was sharing what he saw, and it was pretty incredible. And it was almost like this completely other history of the world, and these other races of beings, and they were not allowed to mate with humans. And she had committed a crime and was put. Like, this is why they killed her, and she was pregnant with her, because I think they found a fetus in that mummy as well, that she had a baby. So it was just really, and these were details that weren't released to the public, but he'd seen it in the remote view, and so this is why it was very interesting.
You see that?
Yeah.
Conehead, but check this out. I've got lots of them.
Isn't there ones with like no foreheads? And who is that? Who's Stephen Strong talking about that?
Stephen Strong.
Yeah.
Have you seen this one? That's in the Vatican.
Yes. What is that? That looks like Jar Jar Binks.
Look at that one.
What's it?
What do you think of that?
Is it distorted? Let's look at the background. Is that a distorted Photoshop thing? No. Okay. So, okay. So they're in the Basque region, just between Spain and France.
Are you seeing what
I mean,
I'm
this
seeing?
like this the cone head is sort of linked to the Nephilim, is like linked to that
that's what he said.
bloodline.
Yeah.
Yes, and all of these blue bloodlines that have basically we would know as the families that have been holding this nefarious force together and behind COVID and all the other and basically poison. They're the ones that own all the poison on the planet. Yeah, I mean, whoa. And then we've got, yeah, of course, and they mimic it in the movies.
There's another one.
Yeah,
God,
so
look at
obvious. So
him.
we've got this, and then we've got the
Yikes.
giants.
And there's another one.
Oh my
God.
God.
Wow.
Hey, Chrome Dome.
I know, right? So there's stuff out there. How do I?
There's
stop?
wasn't there there's a certain tribe or something, they massage the baby's head so that it's shaped in a certain way.
Yeah, skull binding. Yeah. So that who are they emulating, right? Who are they trying to make their kids look like?
Yeah.
Well, you go to what's his name? Oh man, I always forget his name. There was this David Icke did a long interview with this shaman. Creto Mutwa. Yeah, he died recently, but he was talking about how the reptilians infiltrated all of the African tribes. And this is the thing, these were the whisperers. They whispered in their ears, and you could have all the power in the world. And there was always this reptilian race. I've intuited, and I'm not sure. See, I don't follow other people, but one of the things that came through with me, this is why the China and the AI and the reptilians and the spying, the reptilians are really into the high-tech spying stuff, right? Yeah. And so it's all that espionage stuff that's going on, but they infiltrated, I believe, a lot of the indigenous races. And the other thing I got with my first video about under the Vatican, where I hate using the word remote view because it's not a technical CIA remote view technique. It's just astral journeying, right? And just allowing the consciousness to go into these other spaces. But that being that I saw under the Vatican, if I could describe it, so it was like if you could imagine a goat's skull with greeny black skin stretched over it, and I could actually smell it. It smelled like rotting garbage and blood. It was disgusting, and it was really huge. It was sitting down, and just sitting down, its head would have been, so from its bottom to its head was about 3 meters high. Okay, and it had these wings it was like a demonic creature. It kind of looked like, it's not Baphomet, but it had that kind of weird, it had horns, these turned back horns, and it had black stuff oozing and dripping off it. And now I realize it's black goo. And it fed it. What was feeding it, because they were worshipping it. These priests in the Vatican were just absolutely on the ground worshipping it. This being, whatever it was, I felt it was chained and they had captured it somehow with magic. I felt it was so ancient, really ancient. And I believe that the Phoenicians found it in their seafaring voyages and captured it, and then got secrets from it.
Plugged into it.
Yeah, and this thing was feeding off this. What I saw was all the black goo and whatever under Australia was feeding this thing. So it was like the hub of all evil and AI and all sacrifice, but it was telling them the secrets of how to get power in this world. If you do this, it's like all the ancient knowledge of everything that is dark and how to manipulate this matrix. That's where they were getting the answers from. That's why they accumulated all their wealth. That's why they got everything they did. That's why the red shoes, the whole thing, they got the secrets from this creature. So I think once the Venetians, the reasons why the Phoenicians then became the Venetians and they had that control for so long is because they had this creature which almost looked like a dragonish creature, but it was so vile and it had been somehow captured. So whatever it was, they knew the secret of how to keep it chained and locked in place. And in return for it to survive, it would give them information on what to do right, on how to torture the children, how to obtain the adrenochrome, how to do all of that stuff. And I think that's why they were so, they worshipped this thing. That's interesting that you showed the priests coming into the Vatican and there was that weird creature walking behind them, because it did have this really long, weird face. And I did draw it. There was one video where I drew it to show everyone what it looked like. It was just awful. And it saw me, which was another weird thing. It looked right at me. Now, when I tapped back into it months later, I saw it had turned white. The weird thing is, years ago, I think I remember Mark saying to me that he'd met these ladies in Morocco who were these healers, and they said that there was a beast under the Vatican, but it had now turned white. So I saw the same thing, it had now turned white. So I feel that was a sign that the matrix was crumbling, because for that to happen and for this thing to go, because I do feel like it's been taken away. So part of their control and their power has gone.
Mm. So do you think that's what people are saying when they say the head of the Hydra? Is that what
I think this was part of it? Yeah, this was part of it, I think, because it felt like it just wanted to be free. I have a feeling that this creature is just something from the universe that knew it was so ancient that it had all the answers to everything, the good and the bad, right? And how to harness the good and how to harness. And I don't actually think it was bad. I just think it knew all. And because of their continual asking or sacrifice to it, it became darker and darker and was just covered in this virusy black goo thing. Black goo is just a byproduct of the AI.
Yeah.
It's a byproduct. It's like this. And you can see it in people. I've removed it from people before on a metaphysical level, but you have to replace it with this beautiful jizzy white. Sorry, it's like
you love saying jizzy.
It is.
You say that like I say fuck.
It is. It's like sparkly jizzy light. It's just and it's full of love. And yeah, you replace it with that. But there's a whole thing to that. But so it's a real physical thing, and it's a metaphysical thing as well. It's an energetic thing that people have in them, in their spinal column usually. With
that sort of entity on the plane, like, have we had a counteractive force, like an opposing energetic pattern, or has there been something in opposition to that, or is that what we're here as? Like, what has been the thing that, because I have to, like, when I sit down and go, okay, let's bring this all back to now, and why are we here? How did we get here? What's the purpose of our experience here? Like, are we them at the end of the journey? Like, were we the ones that made all this happen? Were we the giants? Were we the ancient messed up gods? Were we the Nephilim? Were we all of this to become this, to now, like what is the purpose? Like, when we talk about that, this is all like the majority of the population are just there to present us with a version that we're in a real matrix. Like, hello, you're just a holographic projection for our benefit. Then what the hell is all of it? Why? How is all of this, like, it's all made for us?
It's God experiencing itself. And I know that's a stupid, simplistic answer, but it is. It goes back to that, the Godhead experiencing itself in all forms, in every possibility, in every single possible nuance. It has to explore itself in every single possibility.
Like, do you feel like that's why we're here? Are we that?
Yeah, well, we tell ourselves stories in order to understand the passing of time and in order to comprehend the nature of energy and how it's expressing itself, how God energy is expressing itself. And that's what it is. That's the exploration of that. So that's interesting, isn't it? This is the stuff. This is when we get to the mind candy. It's so convoluted and so unbelievable that your head will explode. So we have to make sense of it by creating a story to allow us to pass the time and to, in the end, go back to that one source again, we forget who we are
but
in order to have that expression. Isn't it crazy? And it's
crazy.
Just so we remember that
we
are
know,
God.
so we can come down here and
The Wizard of
relearn what we
Oz.
forgot, and then die, and then remember that we knew it in the first place.
The Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
It's
I mean,
like-
You already
it's
had
like-
it within you, yeah.
yeah,
It's-
it was always
so
there.
we're essentially gods
Crazy.
that have done
Yeah, we are.
that have done something completely unknown to the other gods, which is amnesiatized ourselves, placed ourselves
this
in a
dimension
game,
is amnesia. Yeah. Mhm.
placed ourselves in it and said, we are gods that are going to completely forget that we're gods. Play this game out. I mean, I don't know how long we've been here in this realm, in this like space and time, but it feels like friggin' ages, and it feels like we've been really, really fucked up. Like it feels like we've done some absolutely insanely intense. If we own all of what's come from the past of what we're putting together, Tartaria, as it is happening today in the present moment, because there's no linear time, then that's us, right? We argue that
maybe we're here to help the humans evolve, because we're already evolved, but we came in to play the part of humans to help them out. That's what came through in my hypnosis session. I wish I could show you that little bit, because there was this bit where I wake up after I die in this medieval times, and then I wake up and he tells me to look around, and I'm like, he goes, where are you? And originally I'd go back into my bedroom as the aristocrat in France, and I'm like, I'm in my bedroom, and then it fades away, and then I'm on this ship, and it's this white ship, this room, and I'm plugged into this, and I'm like looking down, and I look at the guy, and I go, who are you? And he goes, you always say that. And I go, no, who are you? And he says, here we go. He's like, you always forget. He goes, let me put it this way. This is a game. We go in there, we help the humans, and then we get out. Right. And so this was happening every time I die. So if you're one of these starseeds who come from these other realms and these ships, which I believe that's where we're living. So that's not our home originally. It's just it's like Star trekking across the universe, right? So we're here, and here's the moment in time and time doesn't exist, right? So we already know there's all these lifetimes stacked on top of each other. You're dynamically experiencing them. Once your consciousness focuses on that particular lifetime, it remembers that because it knows all that ever was and all that ever will be. And it's just so convoluted. But we come in here to help evolve the soul, even our own souls, because we came in here to completely forget, and we have to the whole game is to build up all these experiences to get to this point where we all start remembering, and we're all having this mass awakening, because before there wasn't enough awakening with every reset. That's why you had the kids, the missing people, the missing adults, because some of those adults were taken out, but it was only a small fraction at the time. Each time there was only a little bit that got taken out. This time it's a mass amount, and they're going to try and get out all of them. We want to try and get out all of them, but unfortunately, a lot of the star seeds and these organic consciousness have fallen for the matrix, and they're lost. So they're not lost forever. They're just going to take a lot longer within this reality to evolve, to be able to go, oh fuck, shit, I missed the ship.
So do you think that the determining factor there, like the cutoff point, is the apple juice? Like, is that it? Have we hit that cutoff point? Like, you've done that or you haven't done that. Now we've got a split in the timeline. Like it feels like
so they know who to pick up pretty much.
The humans that we're trying to serve
There's
and be
free
in
will
service
still,
to, the group that we're trying to be in service to are either already they're already got it, or we're very diminished. Like, it feels like if we take the apple juice as part of that. I mean, what do you guys think? Does the apple juice prevent this process? Like, I get a yes, it does. But like, what are your thoughts?
So.
I think that there was something in this dowsing session I did recently, which says that approximately around the world, about 30% of the jabs are saline.
Yes, agreed. Yeah.
Right. And some countries got a higher percentage of the bad stuff, and they particularly focused, certain demographics had certain, like they might have a higher percentage of the bad stuff. And then there's others that just got the saline jab. The other thing is we can't forget that if there's good guys and bad guys, right? So we've got these good galactics who have a technology, from what I understand, because you know how you get the missing time when you've got the whole grays thing, and a lot of people have the missing time. The good guys have the technology where they can go in and get out without the missing time.
Yep.
Right. So that's the good guy technology, right? Whereas the bad guys, they still haven't got that quite right. You'll always notice a bit of missing time with the bad ones. So the good guys have this, but so what they're doing, they can't interfere with our free will. But if part of our soul contract is not to experience that, right? So our soul contract was to come in here and help save the humans or whatever, but then we got coerced into something that went against our higher self soul contract. Then that's when they'll intervene, especially if it's on a mass thing. Now, most people are going, no, you know, who would want to die? No, they're still thinking in 3D. You're not getting that we're bigger than this, right? So some of us did come in here and go, right, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to play the role of the asleep guy, and I'm going to trigger all my family to wake up. And then I'm going to be the one that ends up dying from the jab so that they all wake up, right? So that's a big role for that soul to play. Now, they might be a very ancient, developed soul, but in this lifetime, they decided to play that role because they could see the effect that it would have for their family and loved ones, right? So we don't know who's playing what.
Yeah, good. Very
it's not
good
for
point.
you to say. You can't, and that's so there comes a point where you go, right, I can't convince people. You can see it very clearly. You're not going to wake them up. There are those who are, and there's a lot of people who follow me. You go, oh yeah, they're awake and they're against the jab, but some of them have had to have the jab.
Yeah,
they've had to, and that's not. You can't pass judgment on those people, right? Because in their world, in their experience that have accumulated to this point, they had to. Now, if they are particularly important in a soul contract sort of way where they were supposed to do this thing and they didn't end up doing it, I would say that their star family came in, slipped in, replaced their jab with the saline one, and then went back out. And I was told how that was done in this thing. It was like, if you imagine stacks and stacks and stacks of records, you know, like a vinyl records, right? And they literally go in, slip that bit out of that sliver of time and slip in.
Record and chuck a new one in the sleeve. Yeah.
And that's how they do it. And they're able to get in and get out and like put you in and out. So there was a moment where I thought I got taken on a ship. It was like instantaneous, right? Because I was like, what the fuck? Like, because I went to this location. I won't say where it is, but I went there and I turned off all my devices. My device had like 70% battery, 77% battery. Turned it off. It was pretty full. And I wanted to meditate with these trees, and I knew that there was galactics around, like I could feel it. And I was like, oh, I'm going to douse and just sense. And then I asked and they said, we are here. And I went, oh, okay. So then I was dowsing for a bit. It was really boring. And then suddenly I got distracted and I looked over and there was these little birds going, little wrens. And I got distracted for a moment and I kind of went in this daze, and then I went like that. And I went, oh, fuck, this is boring. And then I started laughing uncontrollably. And I went, why am I laughing? And I was like, fuck, I'm going, right? So it was only about 40 minutes. Anyway, I'm walking back out of the bush and I'll turn on my phone because I want to take photos of the beautiful trees and stuff. My phone's on 7%. And I was like, what the hell? Why is it on 7%? Anyway, I tell my friends, like, my phone's like nearly dead. And she said, the chips, they drain the energy. And then I was like, I'm in the shower. So I get home, I'm going to have a shower. And I went, motherfucker, you fucking took me. You fucking took me. So I experienced this moment where I would have been taken, but it was like you get this distraction, you don't notice it, and then you're taken and then come back.
So we can be taken and not know it.
Yeah. And then what they said, is
that why my phone keeps going flat?
Yeah. So what the dowsing said, so I remember when I was really boring, I was like, I'm going to go. It said, remember. And I said, remember what? And then it said, just remember. And I was like, remember what?
Give me the answer.
Oh my God. The question we ask every single day.
Saying, remember. My higher self was saying, remember, you got taken. So I think that was the good guys. It must be. I'm still here. I'm all good. So yeah, so I just wanted to say like that can happen as well. This is such a convoluted universe, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we
like,
need your course.
Like, has it become convoluted just from the fact that all the stars, I mean, I don't even know what to call us. Let's just say star seeds, just as a generalized term.
I hate star seeds, but
I know, like,
let's call it organic consciousness.
All right, yeah, perfect. All right, organic consciousness. I love that. Okay, so organic consciousness came here, and like our brains potentially are what created this like very complex situation that we're in. Like we potentially were the origins of all of this and the creators of all of this, and the coming together of all of the organic consciousness that is here is actually this. Like it is it's our realm, it's what we live in now. And like when we say got to get out of the game, got to like ascend out of this game, like, you know, from that perspective, this organic consciousness just has to essentially imagine the new game. Or like, I mean, how separate is it from us? Like, you know, we look at Tartaria and it does give us it does again give us a linear timeline. Like it says, you know, like there's proof that there was giants here in your past. There was proof that 300 years ago, this is what the world looked like. And then sorry, I just turned that up. It's my mother. It's my mother.
And Campbell's cat's going off.
Yeah, did you hear her? I tried to mute it.
So I mean, like we've got this situation where even Tartaria separates us essentially from it. Like, I mean, I can get my head around the fact that maybe I remember killing giants, but you know, at the same time, maybe I was the giant, or maybe I was the one that created the idea of the giant and the giant killer. Like I remember going back in time and being off this plane altogether and architecting the whole realm. Like it's my consciousness that has followed me through this whole journey. And yet everything we see is that we're separated from it. But in actual fact, I am it. Therefore, if I am and have always been it, then what are we trying to get out of?
So that's all the Buddhist and Taoist philosophy. And I would recommend that everybody go and listen to Sat Yoga Institute YouTube channel and look at Shunyan Murti, or whatever his name is. I always forget how to pronounce his name. He's that white New Yorker who is now a guru. So he explains the whole philosophy of all of these these meditation practices and stuff. So whether it's Taoist or Buddhist or Hindu philosophies, and it always goes back to that singularity, you know. So we're just God remembering or experiencing itself and remembering that we are Godheads. And this is where the Kali Yuga comes in. He explains the whole thing about this. We're in the era of the Kali Yuga. So we are divine beings. So this is the philosophy that they have, that we are divine immortal beings, and we come in and we descend into humanness. And what it is in that forgetting and that, it's about undoing that and removing those layers through meditation practices, and then coming back into that singularity to remember that you are a divine avatar. You know, you are an avatar of a divine being. So that's basically, they got it right. But it doesn't matter what language you use to describe it. It's all exciting and juicy and delicious and messy and this is where the Tartaria is. It's wonderful and it's mind candy, but it's also the key to understanding our reality is just extraordinary. And we can keep rattling on about how we were deceived, but that's the game. That's the part of it, isn't it? That's the game, just to remember who you really are. And we're pushed to the brink. So that we can remember who we are. Because if we didn't have this,
I'm feeling it.
They're coming for the children. They're coming for the children. What are you going to do about it?
Shedding. Fuck's sake, that's an invisible enemy. Like, come on, give us a break. But like, like we didn't take the apple juice. Give us a break. What do you mean? It's still fucking us up.
IKEA apple juice. I love that. The IKEA apple juice.
So, I mean, like, the fucking truth is, like, the human mandate is to make known the unknown. Like, That's why we're here. Make known the unknown. And with that mandate, like truly, that would explain everything to me. Like if that's the truth, then we have made known the unknown in all of its glorious and fucked upness. And we have we are remembering all that we have done. Like not some separate realm, it's a separate darkness, a separate draconians and separate giants and separate gods and separate gurus and whatever. It's all us. Like we are here to make known the unknown. Therefore, like, what are you going to do today, guys? It is to make known the unknown. Because like, I tell you what, if you go through Tartaria, we have pretty much done every fucked up thing you could possibly imagine. We have messed up every animal, every tree, every sacred site, every building, human bodies. We've genetically modified everything. We've combined everything. We've parasited everything. We have done everything you could imagine, except like imagine ourselves out of this. Like, you know, like we haven't yet. That's the last thing to do, right? I mean, like that's how I feel, like, you know, and that's why I keep going on about the imagination. Like we actually have to become masters of our own mandate, which is make known the unknown. And right now, like you go through Tartaria, so much. I mean, there's nothing, I don't think there's anything we haven't done, godly or ghastly. And to own that, like we talk about the kids being the worst thing ever, and it is, but Tartaria's history is worse and worse and worse and worse than that. And it's ghastly, and like, it's still us. I don't see a separation there. Like we did it. We are doing it somehow. Yeah.
Some people call us the Anunnaki. Maybe we're with the Anunnaki, but I don't know. I think that even that story was twisted by the reptilians to make the Anunnaki to be out to be evil. And that's something that else that came through, was that the Anunnaki were not actually evil. There's a whole story about that. I could go into it. Inversion of all of these symbols and things like that. And a lot of it has to do with Venus, and Venus being the love portal. That is the one stargate that's all about love and frequency. They don't like us. They don't like us. They don't like us here, right? They don't like the love frequency. And that's a whole other story there, right? So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I've watched things that have said, that have channeled and remote viewed that Venus is the home of the reptilians. So, I mean... See,
well, that's just fucked up. I don't believe that.
Right.
No, I don't believe that. It's not. Yeah, no.
I mean, this is like, it's so, everything is so mirrored and infinite and like
a distorted fun house, you know, those
the mirrors, the freaking mirrors of the fun house. Yeah.
It's all choice, isn't it? Every step of the way we get to choose what we're going to focus on and go down this way or turn this way or make this decision, do this. And in the end, that determines where we end up. And I guess how many show bags we buy on the way and all the crap that we're carrying with us, right?
Oh God, I missed the Easter show.
The Easter show. So, all right, let's like bring this back to a really, you know, I mean, if you come with 2
hours now.
Yes,
yeah, I know, right?
Still, like,
you too. Now it's my turn to talk for an hour.
Sorry, darling. I'm so sorry, Campbell. I know. I was looking at Campbell. I'm like, I'm going to cop this after. She never let him talk. Those two bitches didn't let him
I'm getting
talk.
Mark to come on next time, and we're going to have our own conversation.
Yeah, we'll get Mark on. Mark will talk over the top of all of us.
Well, very luckily, like if you've reached the end of the show, Cambell has some really wise words for you to finish this show off, and he's going to come in there with a punch. What do you got for us, Cambell? How do we bring this back? What are you going to summarize, and how are we going to bring this back to, like, you know, to our audience, and like, you know, in summary of all of this, like, what is the gold we're gifting? You know, what's the what is the 3D-ness and the 5D-ness of this whole dialogue?
How does it all work? Yeah, well, I mean, this is the thing, we're in the 3D world, and the crystal city's not. So it's about us raising our frequency, and that, as well as seeing the good, it's got a lot to do with letting go of the crap, right? Making yourself lighter. Because if you're lighter, you can float up and see more. When you see more, you can experience more. So yeah, it's all about letting go of the system and having trust. that we've got everything we need. We don't need the system anymore. We don't need to follow their script and their books. We can write our own. We can be the authors of our own lives, and we can run into the desert and find crystal cities. It's all, what do you believe is achievable? What do you want to do? Do you want to go on a quest, or do you want to go back to the office? I mean, it's a pretty easy decision, really, isn't it?
I know. And it's all about letting go of ourselves. What a beautiful, you summed it up perfectly. Can I just say your background makes you look like you got a mullet? Do you have a mullet?
No, I don't.
No, it's beautiful.
Look, we're Australian here, Jay-Z. We like a big mullet, especially in the desert. It's how we are blending.
I used to have a mullet. But
Did you?
Yeah.
Gosh.
I'm an 80s boy.
Did you do like a Richard Marx mullet, or was it like a proper?
I did. I've got a couple.
Was it a John Farnham mullet?
Yeah, it was a bit of a John Farnham mullet, like really airways back. It was,
So, guys, I've got a good movie to recommend to everyone. It's come out. It's on Stan or something. It's called Bliss. Have you guys heard of it?
Ooh,
it's like it's brand new, and it's got that actor with the crooked nose, Owen.
Wilson. Yeah, Owen Wilson.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So look,
he's back. Is he disappeared?
We're not gonna get into the actors or like any of that shit. But what we're gonna say is the script of this movie is really mirrors what we're talking about timelines and entering and exiting the game, and like moving into the fact that we're just avatars in this space and time, and what it takes to actually like make decisions in this realm based on knowing you're actually only just an avatar, and how free that is or not, and how impact it does on your 3D world once you realize you're actually not real in it and you're in a game. So you'll be amazed, guys, to watch this film. You'll really enjoy it. It really is great acting. It's a great film. So I'm going to recommend that. And also, I was inspired the other day after a conversation with Cambell to buy The 12th Insight. Now,
I've only got I didn't buy that one. Way back in 94, that was one of my first books.
Same, all of us.
Do you know Sydney very well? Do you know Sydney very well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the Queen Victoria building, Tartarian structure?
Tartaria, yep.
So opposite that used to be the Aquarius bookshop, and I used to go there after uni all the time, and we'd go in there, and I still remember Celestine Prophecy, and I was like, I gotta get this, and I was like, I think I was 18. I was about 18, and I read it, and I was like, holy crap.
Yep, same.
And then the 10th Insight, and wow, okay.
So I went on, we had a conversation the other day, and we were talking about the Celestine Prophecy, how it was pretty much our first book, and it was all about seeing energy. It was all about tuning into
the trees
and synchronicity, which is the flow, that energetic flow of the ether, perhaps. And then, of course, I went out, I thought, I'm going to reread those because they were my first books. And then I saw the 12th Insight, which was the only one I never read.
I haven't read that. I haven't read that either.
Anyway,
so I have to go buy it.
Yeah, because I actually think it's for now. And I think most of us who started our whole spiritual journeys on the Celestine Prophecy didn't get to the 12th book, because by the 12th book, we were just off. We were like, we've got it. Now and we're on to all these other things. So,
got a bigger brightness.
I can't see. Oh, yes. Hello.
It's just a bit fading away. I tried this last time.
He's ascended.
So basically the first bit, I've only read the first 2 chapters last night, and it's all about like now. Seriously, it's about reminding you about synchronicity. And when you like get in the flow of making known the unknown, the synchronicities will happen. Hello, when we started this Crystal City hunt, the synchronicities started happening more than any other place in our lives, because we had engaged the imagination. And it's all about like training yourself to get out of the fear and into the synchronized flow. And it's all about a 12th Insight.
Isn't it amazing that this, like, what are we talking about now? Nearly 30 years ago.
Early 90s,
yeah. 27 years ago. So, and they were talking about, remember when they start disappearing at the end? And it's like their frequency and fuck no, man.
And it was groundbreaking back then, wasn't it? It was like, whoa. Now it's just Yeah, okay, of course.
The movie wasn't so crash. I think I
movie-
watched the
No, the
movie.
No, because they can't employ real
it was-
organic consciousness to make real
No.
movies. They have to employ
No.
like, anyway, the point, this was written in 2011 or
3D
published in
change
2011, and it was gearing up to dialogue around 2012, right?
Oh,
And then of course
really?
2012 like became
Okay.
2021, and here we are again. So I think the 12th insight is information for us now, fellow organic consciousness.
Ness. I agree. Get back into some books too, get away from the screen, open a book.
Yeah.
Always a good way to go.
I did want to ask you guys about the beetles because I got a beautiful viewer gave me the scarab, but I had seen in the remote view under Australia these giant beetles. So I don't know if you know anything about that, because I had no idea about. Have you ever come across giant beetles in anything that you've? I don't know. That goes back to the giant.
Not yet, but ask us in a few days. There'll probably be videos about it.
Probably.
We'll have an interview booked up.
Because I actually, like, when you said that, immediately I got the dark crystal in my mind. Like, and I think
see, I've never watched that because it always creeps me out.
It is creepy. It's freaking. Then they did a new version. They released a new version last year, and it's really full on adrenochrome. It's full on. But there's giant beetles, and I reckon Australia has got some. I mean, when I say Crystal City in Australia,
fauna.
I just feel like it's so. I feel like it's epic, like massive, like huge, and like everything we've ever imagined in the Lord of the Rings scenario. That sort of is here in Australia, and like the Tartarian stuff points out so many gigantic animals and creatures and insects and bugs. Like
far out, man.
Maybe Stephen Strong's the Lord of the Rings.
Well, he's literally the Lord of the Rings. Literally,
he is.
He
wears it.
He is.
Because only I can wear this ring.
Yeah.
He's what's his name? He's the oh my God, Frodo. What's his name? Frodo's uncle. What's his name?
Bilbo
Baggins.
He's
Bilbo.
You know what? Actually, would be interesting that the scarab comes from Egypt, and the Egyptians were it's been very well documented. They traveled here to speak the original or lore owners, which are the indigenous.
It's about eternal life and resurrection, I think, the scarab.
Yeah,
maybe the scarab beetles, the giant scarab beetles,
the winged beetle.
Yes, and maybe they've been.
Look, we can go into the beetles, the actual beetles. The actual beetles, BATLES, and the whole
beetles. Yep.
Paul McCartney.
Nasty beetle.
Paul is dead. You know about Paul is dead? Yeah, Paul is dead. It's a whole other thing. Aleister Crowley. Egypt.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
I'll have to tell you next time about all of the
thing
and
Laurel Canyon and all
2
that
hours.
Kind of stuff.
I know. Well, the Beatles actually were the ones that inverted.
We'll invite
sound convergence. They fucked up sound. Like they were the ones that were in charge.
432, 440 thing.
Yeah, it was the Beatles.
That was all the Tavistock. Yeah, that's to do with the Tavistock.
Yeah.
That was the Tavistock Institute and all of the we can go down all these other rabbit holes, but it all relates to the deception that we live in.
All right, so I'm going to make one premise before we leave on the topic of the Beatles, since you did bring it up, and it is here in front of our faces on your neck. Like, if Australia were the original law keepers, or the Indigenous were the original law keepers, and they had a prophecy that Captain Cook would arrive and they needed to remove the original law, but just before that happened, they had engaged with the Egyptians, and there's we've seen evidence of that on either side. Boomerangs in Egypt, pyramids, and hieroglyphs here and gold and stuff. So it would not be too crazy to me that the Egyptians bought over the scarab beetles, and because they said when that happened, they moved the law as if it was an actual entity. They moved the law to the desert, and it's been protected there ever since. So we think of law as like words and like moral codes, like Moses and the tablet.
But the king kind of a title.
What if the law was an actual
title for a
entity
person or a being?
Or a being? Like, what if it was a literal being?
This is the law. Meet Mr. Law. As long as it's not John Laws, then we're doing all right.
We're doing too many Australian references now.
Anyway, I'm going to leave it with that premise that maybe the law is
Yes.
not like this
2
lofty
hours.
concept, but actually an entity of some description.
Yeah, just like the beast under the Vatican, but opposite of that, maybe.
Exactly, because that's what we were talking about. Like the actual, was there a counteractive energetic that maintained the energetic, the template that we're on? There must have been something counteractive.
It was, to me, when I was looking at Uluru, it was Gaia itself. Like Gaia was, her presence was very, very, very vivid for me. And that was her heart. And I know there's all these new age maps that they're going, no, it's the solar plexus. And it's like, no, it's not the solar plexus. It's not, because all the originals will tell you it's the heart.
Yeah.
So that was Gaia's heart. And but I felt her presence really strong. And there was a message in one of my early videos, man, I've got to go back and look, but there was a message channeled from Gaia. And she was saying that they raped and pierced her whole body by inverting, and so it was this masculine energy, but it was like a dark masculine. It wasn't like a divine masculine, but it was all about inverting the whole presence of Gaia. And Gaia herself is a living being, and the originals knew that. They knew they lived on Earth it's like a symbiotic relationship, that the Earth was alive and she was part of this, of our survival, etc. And so that's what they're constantly inverting. And that was that's the undoing of all of that black goo. So it's literally like Gaia's ascending now, right? And so shedding the old Gaia, ascending into a new frequency. And the more because it's a symbiotic relationship, the more we manifest that new Gaia, then she can ascend. And yet, because everything, no time exists, it already exists. Does that make sense? Because everything happens simultaneously.
Yeah. Which proves that we win.
I'm going cuckoo now.
That proves that we win.
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't be able to tell the story if we didn't win. So
exactly. Yeah, it wouldn't be here. Yeah, and
then,
the law, right? The law should be LORE.
Yeah, LORE.
Following
that came through in a very early pendulum session. Yeah, LORE. And I was like,
that law has to be what we establish our intentional communities on. Like that is the only law. It has to be done this way. We can't even do this if we follow maritime law.
It has to be natural law and common law. Yeah.
We've got so much learning to do on that level, like on the idea of law.
It'll come back to us.
We didn't even, that's how we started. We didn't even touch the topic.
We were talking about schools and stuff, but that's okay.
I think we should have another podcast where we actually do look at the practical applications of moving into intentional communities.
Definitely.
And
we can invite other. Listen to me. I'm just like organizing your.
No, let's do it. Yeah.
We can invite Mr. Atwood if you want.
Yes,
or we can get some. Yeah, I've got some interesting other people that know about common law.
Yeah, I've got a couple of people too that we can use.
And I
and of course I can go through and show you how to buy your own the ABN for your legal name.
Yeah.
And
all right.
If you own that, no one can tell you anything.
Yeah.
So we will do a Tartaria in Australia handbook podcast, which is about thriving as a refugee. We are going to be refugees, absolutely. And how important community is, because you can't fucking do this alone, guys. Like that was
my last video. Yep.
It's so important, and it's scary for us all because we've been in isolation for so long. We're all a bit rusty in the real world, but man, like it's as you know, Jess, it's like it really is hard.
Real people is amazing. You know, it's like, whoa, I get to hug real people.
Yeah, it's got to happen.
Definitely.
My friends.
Awesome. And there we have it.
What an amazing conversation. Wow.
My daughter's been very patient. I've got to make her some food now.
Thank you so much.
My cat too.
Excellent. All right, guys. Well, thank you for another amazing episode of Tartaria Australia.
Thanks for joining us, JC.
I can't even remember what we covered now. It just feels like we were
awesome.
Like,
we need timestamps.
Awesome. Give us likes and subscribe. Share this around. Tell us about awesome.
All right, so we're recommending the 12th Insight and Bliss movie, and we'll put all any other links down the bottom. And fantastic. Thank you, guys. We will see you again next podcast.
All right. Thank you.